The sermon title this morning is Living in God's Presence. I enjoy camping out. Being in the open with perhaps a tent, an air mattress, and a sleeping bag is roughing it for me. Back in the 90s, Mickey Kringer and I would take regular canoe trips during the summer for 3 to 5 days in the Adirondacks. We'd plan our trips ahead of time, pack non-perishable food, our gear, and some basic survival items into our canoes and head off into the mountains and lakes around the Raquette River to see how far away from civilization we could get. In Genesis 28, verses 10 through 19, Jacob is on a camping trip. His father Isaac has sent him to his mother's father's land in Paddan Aram to find a wife from among his mother's family. After arriving there, Jacob takes off on an excursion towards Haran. Now, Jacob is not very well prepared for outdoor life. He doesn't take anything or anyone with him, and if you remember, he likes life in the camp with his mother Rebecca, as opposed to living in the wild like his brother Esau. As night falls, Jacob stops in an unnamed place, selects a stone for a pillow, and goes to sleep. Right about now in the narrative, I begin to question Jacob's ability to survive in the wilderness. No pre-planning, nothing to eat or drink, and only a rock for a pillow. This camping trip has all the makings of a disaster. His camping trip is interrupted by a dream. Jacob dreams about a ladder reaching from earth up to heaven, with heavenly beings going up and down. The Lord appears to Jacob in his dream and extends the Abrahamic covenant to him, that promise of many descendants and a nation. The Lord adds another aspect to the covenant when he promises to stay with Jacob always and to bring him back to this place in verse 15. The dream has such a strong effect on Jacob that he names the place Bethel, which literally means house, Beth, of God, El. For Jacob, Bethel was a portal through which the Lord reached down to earth and spoke to him. This is not unusual in ancient Near Eastern societies, as there were often places called ziggurats, a sacred stepped tower. At the top of the tower was a chapel or a shrine where ancient gods lived, and at the bottom of the staircase provided a means for those gods to come up and down to earth to punish or direct their subjects. The difference here in Jacob's dream is that the Lord does not come to earth to direct or punish him. The Lord comes to earth to assure Jacob that he will indeed be the one to carry on a covenant relationship with God. We all have our sacred places, places where we can go to feel close to God. For some, it may be a remote place far away from the bustle and hustle of everyday life. For others, it may be the quiet of an empty sanctuary, or perhaps the beauty of a sunrise. And still others, it may be the hustle and bustle of city life, where they feel the need to be with others and around them. No matter where we are, all of us want to find our Bethel, that house of God where we can meet our Creator, offer praise, worship, and wonder, and thanksgiving to Him. In Psalm 139, the psalmist tells us that the Lord is everywhere. If we climb up Jacob's ladder to heaven, God is there. If we fall to the depths of Sheol, the Lord is there. If we take wings like the birds in the morning, God still remains with us. For the psalmist, Bethel is everywhere. But beyond presence, God knows us better than we even know ourselves. God knows our hearts, our words before we speak them, and our thoughts before we act them. Because God is always present and knows each of us completely, we should strive to spend as much time as possible in His presence to know and understand His plan for each of us. Life is better in God's presence, where we find peace and can talk with our Maker and listen for His direction in our daily lives. In Matthew, Jesus tells us that the good, the wheat, and the bad, the weeds, will exist in God's presence until the end time comes. As wheat, we want to be the seeds that are scattered, grow quickly, and yield more seeds so the kingdom of God may grow throughout the world. God's love and grace is so extensive that He is always present with us, always cares for us, and is always ready to listen when we cry, Abba, Father, as we reach out in hope for our place in His creation. Our task is to come into the presence of God often and with attentive hearts and minds so we can hear and respond to His words. Daily prayer, spiritual reflection are the best ways to be the children of God in this world. God will come down from heaven on Jacob's ladder and assure us of His presence and hold us closer as His children and joint heirs with His Son, Jesus Christ. All we have to do is be prepared to accept Him among us and live as though He was there with us at all times. Amen.